Caitlin, roll call.
Yep. Mayor Shemente,
Present.
Vice Mayor Shirado,
Present.
Council Members Makata,
Present.
Berlio,
Present.
Behill,
Here.
and staff is present.
Thank you. Would you please stand and join me in the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 5, report out of closed session. No action was taken and direction was given to staff. So we're moving on to item number 6, approval of the agenda as posted or amended. Pam?
Mr. Mayor, staff would like to pull out item 9E from the agenda.
Any other comments from staff or council? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and second. Roll call.
Shemente,
Aye.
Shirado,
Aye.
Makata,
Aye.
Berlio,
Aye.
Behill.
Aye.
Moving on to item number 7, public comment. The public may address the council on any item of public interest, not otherwise on the agenda, that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes per person. And we're now opening up public comment. If anybody from the public would like to make a comment, please go to the podium, state your name.
Hi, my name is Veronica Matilde.
I don't know if it's Veronica, you have to turn probably.
I apologize.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, green light. Hi, my name is Veronica Matilde. I'm here as a follow-up to the last council meeting. I guess I was misunderstood. I thought that the signs and billboards issue would be on agenda today, but I guess it's not. So I do have questions, but I don't know if you can even answer them because I don't know if you're supposed
It's
to.
not on the agenda all of the time.
Right.
Right?
Are
That's
we,
why I'm here.
so anyway, I just didn't know, are we, you, the council, putting it over to the planning commission? And then we should be attending that meeting? And then I apologize, I just don't get the process. But anyway, what I've got is the original letter that I gave you a copy of. I amended it, kind of fleshed it out a little more. And again, these are just suggestions and just to get the ball rolling. I do work and have a lot of life. So I do have 21 signatures on the back of this letter, just from people downtown that own businesses. They might not be citizens of Angels Camp, but they do own a business here in Angels Camp. Also, there are citizens that live in Angels Camp. So I wanted to just kind of give that as a verification. And then online, I had put the letter online and asked for electronic signatures. I'm not sure if anyone really kind of got that. I have another 10 signatures. So right now that just sits at 31 people in support of something changing in more favorable circumstances for business, new coming in to encourage and support, local businesses, and especially in this economy, it's hard. And it's kind of funny because I really don't have a dog in this fight. But I just think it's important if we want to attract small businesses, which 99% of them are here in Angels, we need the city and the council to support that, support small business. Let's encourage them and see, get behind them and be cheerleaders and say, what can we do to help you? Because that's what generates tax dollars. That's what brings in people from out of town. They're like, oh, look at this cute little town. Look at these nice businesses. Maybe I want to visit. Maybe I want to stay. Maybe I want to come back. Maybe I want to open a business here. let's just be proactive and supportive of our town. That's basically all I got.
Thank you.
Ms. Matilda, if you could kindly provide a copy of that to staff, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
She covered it.
Okay.
I'm good.
Anyone else would like to make public comment? Kathy, before you, is it on the same issue or different? Okay, so this matter has been referred to staff and you will see it on a future agenda item.
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, as you probably all know, it's that time of the year again. We're getting ready for the frog jumps, but more important than that is the junior frog jump, which we're holding again at Mark Twain School this Saturday. The school's been gracious enough to allow us to use the gym again, and it worked out really well last year. We had about 140 kids participate, and we're hoping to have even more this year. So I'm gonna leave some flyers that maybe City Hall could pass out or you guys could take home, and we hope to see some of you there. And the Mark Twain Parents Club is gonna be providing snacks at the snack shack, so it'll be a fun time, 10 to 1. Then, as everybody knows, we are having our farmer's market coming up. June 13th will be our kickoff. We're gonna have a live band that night, a small live band. The church has asked us not to have loud music regularly, but for that first kickoff, because this is our 20th season. So, and we feel, the Business Association has had a lot of discussion lately, and we feel this is our primary objective, to not only support small businesses in our community by doing grand openings and mixers and those kind of things, which we've done several, and we have several more slated, but to also provide the community with these kinds of opportunities for socialization and just fun. So anyway, I'm gonna leave these, and I hope to see some of you there, and thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Anyone online?
There is nobody, just Will.
Online? Just Will?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, public comment?
Yes, a public comment because we couldn't get it on the agenda. At the
Okay.
fair, you will be seeing 2 booths. Calaveras Council of Governments will be talking about regional transportation planning, and we'll have a whole big list of projects, many of which are in the city of Angels Camp. It is not the refined list. You all will get a deep dive on that on May 20th. So when you see that list, don't hyperventilate. The list we have is much smaller, and we will be presenting that to you on the 20th.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none? No one?
No.
Okay, we're gonna move on then to item number 8, consent items. We have 2 items on our consent agenda: approval of draft minutes and consideration of resolution 25-19, declaring the intention to continue assessments for fiscal year 2025-26. Yeah, it's a preliminary approving the engineer's report and providing for notice of hearing on June 17, 2025 for the landscape and lighting district number 2 Greenhorn Creek assessment. So does anyone need to pull any items?
I think I need to pull B, so question was I need to recuse myself on that.
Okay. So we'll pull item B. Does any public want to pull an item? Anybody online?
No.
Okay, so we'll take item A.
I make a motion to from item A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any public comment? Anyone online?
You ready?
Okay.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Makata,
Aye.
Brolio,
Aye.
Behill.
Item B.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yeah, since I chair the LLD committee, and so I don't know that I'll have to recuse myself on anything LLD related or not. And that's a question, I don't feel like I have a conflict of interest in putting forward the mandatory engineer's report.
Right.
But down next month, or next meeting when we're discussing this, where do I stand? So that's a question for
For
legal.
Will.
Attorney?
Will?
Will,
Are you there, Will?
Will, we can't hear you.
Is he muted?
No, he's not muted. Will,
Okay, so, well,
You just
Okay, so I
recuse
was under
yourself.
the
for
impression
now,
that
for now, what I'll do is,
questionable.
Yeah, just recuse yourself.
I'll just, I was gonna do the other one, but okay, I'll recuse myself.
And then,
All right, and I'd like some clarification of that bill before the next meeting, if we can get that. Are you the attorney?
and since this item was removed, I appreciate the engineer redacting the names of the owners in Greenhorn Creek. I appreciate that. It was asked and it was done, and I appreciate that. Any other public comment regarding this item?
No.
No? So is there a motion to approve item B?
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none?
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharado,
Aye.
Makata,
Aye.
Barilio,
Aye.
Behill.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, that's right.
So,
So I don't know if that's an abstention or if it's just recusal, so it'll be
Just
4-0,
recuse.
4-0 vote, I guess. or
Yep.
401.
4-0.
Item, action items? Oh, you're in trouble. Item 9A, Rural Recreation and Tourism Program. Amy,
Mayor and council members, we are still on schedule for soft opening Monday, when they will remove, the way that sounds.
Loud. Does it sound loud to you guys too? Sorry about that.
When they'll be removing the fencing, and May 31st for our grand opening. We are set on that. And basically, I will take questions at this time if you have any.
I have a question about the staircase, and with the guardrail being right there, what's the plan for that? And is Caltrans gonna open that guardrail so we can access? I think in the past, we had to cross over the guardrail, but I just wasn't sure.
It was makeshift stairs, it wasn't even a staircase.
So my question is, what's the plan for that?
So Caltrans is going to build to our staircase. We kept trying to match it to their plans, and they said, you build yours, we will match to yours. So I'm assuming they will remove the guardrail.
Is that when the sidewalks get done?
Yes, and that has been given out to, they've awarded the contract on that, so it should be starting pretty quick.
so the guardrail will stay up until the sidewalks?
I don't know Caltrans process, but I'd be surprised if it didn't.
Okay. And we get a Caltrans update.
On June the 17th.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chris, for having that area sprayed. Next year when we do the pre-emergent, it's gonna be a lot easier for everyone, but thank you for doing that. And thanks for having guys in there weeding. I appreciate that. Thank you, Andy. Any other comment from council? Hearing none, any public comment?
Oh, I do want to
good.
clarify just for the record, because I have gotten this question before. So it is going to open on the 13th, and it will remain, or excuse me, the 12th. It will remain open until the 31st. I know there's
Yes.
some question about if it's opening and then it's closing and then it's opening, so I just want to go on the record to clarify that for the public who's been asking.
Days open.
Look,
Go ahead. Hi, Veronica again. I have a question because people have asked me. And I know it has to do with the memorial trees, which is being coordinated with the Veterans Memorial Group. Have they been planted, or is there a plan to have them planted and a ceremony? People keep asking me.
All trees in the park have been planted, all 17. There will probably be 5 more that the Calaveras Garden Club will be putting in as part of the landscaping that goes between the bathrooms and the parking lot, which still is to be completed. You simply purchase, it's not all veterans, it's for anybody who wishes to purchase a plaque, can purchase a plaque. And a large bulk of the trees have been sold. We do have a few left, and we do have benches left also. And they will each get plaques.
so when will the plaques be placed by the tree?
It's gonna take 3 weeks. We're gonna put our order in for the first few that have already been paid for. And hopefully they'll be here by grand opening, if not, shortly thereafter.
Does that answer, Veronica, your question? And the plaques are coming for the trees?
I don't
The
think
trees
that's
have
what
been
you're talking
planted?
about. She's talking about the memorial of, where we planted the 3 trees
Yes.
the monument that's there. She's asking, is there gonna be like a ceremony for those 3 trees and?
Oh.
We are looking at a rededication of that memorial and a rededication of the the north shaft accident. So both of those, but we were gonna do those as separate ceremonies. We'll ask them if they wanna do it on the 31st, but we were looking at having a separate ceremony.
Thank you.
Okay.
From the public.
Okay.
What's the cost for a tree?
Each tree is $350 for a veteran, and it is $500 for a non-veteran, and that includes the cost of the plaque.
We were done,
Patricia Harkins, I live in Angels. I don't know if anybody's seen this article, but I did. Oh, it disappeared. Give me a second. Sorry, I thought I had it all loaded and then it disappeared when I opened it.
Can you tell us about the article? Or is it
Okay.
up?
More than the shading is the children's safety. There was an article on the Motherlode website on May, I can't remember the 4th or the 2nd, but a 71-year-old woman at Sonora DMV was parking her car. She hit the gas instead of the brake. She jumped a parking block as well as the curb and then hit the building and put a dent in the building. Didn't break any windows, didn't hurt any people. I've said this before, that I just feel the road that approaches down below to where the playground is on the corner of the park originally was going to have kind of a drainage where a car would drop into it before it would have to try and jump a curb. That was changed. This article, to me, is a wake-up. I'm 68. I mean, that's 3 years away. I could be that 71-year-old woman coming down the road, going faster than just parking my car, and mistakenly to make that turn, instead of slowing the car down on the street to make this slight turn to where the parking is, hit the gas instead of the brake. I'm gonna go straight into that playground. And there's only a small curb. It's not even a high curb on that corner. To jump, and I'll plow into the playground. And to me, safety is more important than shading. I've talked about shading and shading. Safety is just more important, and I just want to bring it up again. That was an incident that just happened recently, and it just brings to light that this can happen. Anybody can do it anywhere. And I just needed to bring it up again because I just feel that corner could be unsafe. And I'd like you to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone online? Okay, thank you, Amy, for the report. And hopefully, this could be your last report.
I thought last one was.
Yeah, but who knows? Well, no, because you'll have to update us, probably on the 20th, you'll tell us more details
About
of the grand opening.
that sounds
Okay, perfect, thank you. So, moving on to item 9B, waive second reading, hold a public hearing, and consider adoption of ordinance 543, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Angels adopting a new chapter 15.30, grading, drainage, and erosion control for the Angels Camp Municipal Code. Amy.
Mayor and council members, this was brought to you at your previous meeting, and there were questions about requiring a grading permit on an existing single-family lot, and where we came up with 50 cubic yards. 50 cubic yards is in the California Building Code. You are supposed to get a grading permit when you exceed 50. but we went a step further. We wanted to make it clear that you are not required to get a separate building permit get a separate grading permit when you're getting a building permit for a single-family residence. And I apologize, I discovered that our software does not like red line strikeout, and so the new language we added was removed from your agenda packet. I do apologize, but basically it says, where a building permit is issued for a single-family residence on a pre-existing residential.
It was there, Amy. It was there, Amy. Yes.
It was in the background part, not in the actual
Okay, okay.
code.
So you actually have it. So basically, there's that question. Hopefully that answers that question. Otherwise, we basically copied. Calaveras County has tailored it to Angels Camp, and for the first time ever, if you pass it tonight, you have a grading, drainage, and erosion control ordinance. You, at your last meeting, adopted the standards and guidelines, and this would codify that in our code. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does does council have any questions for Amy?
I guess, I do.
Okay.
We've gone our entire history without grading permits, and I'd like to know if there are ever any damages to the citizenry or the city as a result of having no grading permits. Also, when you are looking to, on single-family houses, include this as part of the building permit, does that not increase the building permit costs and fees?
No.
It seems like, well, it's added city work, and it's part of the building permit. I can't imagine that added city work is going to mean no added cost. And it might be the intent now, but sure as heck is not going to be in the future. And I think a lot of these, a lot of this is just mandated by the state, and it's just another layer of regulation and fees that I really don't want to see in single-family residences. And so again, this is not an exemption that I would prefer. This is something different. I don't trust that a building permit will be less or the same price with a grading permit added in there, or that process added. So for that reason, I still can't support this until I can't support any added layers of regulations. If you want to take away 2 and add 1, I can probably get behind that. But we're just making it too expensive to build.
In reality, just so you know, we have never charged for a grading permit for a single-family residence since I've worked here. I've never heard of it happening. I do not foresee it happening with this code.
Well, we never had an ordinance before that required it. Okay? I'm like,
And included an exception for when you have a single-family residence. But your comments noted. I doubt our city engineer would like to add anything to that.
Well, we have to wait. We have to keep it because it's part of a public hearing. We have to
Gotcha.
bring it to council first. Any other council comments?
I got one quick question. The building permit is based off of the square footage of the house?
Valuation.
Valuation, okay. So that would then be, that valuation figures in any grading or anything of that kind?
Yes.
So it's all inclusive then? The permit is all inclusive?
The permit is all inclusive.
Okay.
the permits don't change depending on how many light sockets you have and how many.
We changed the
square
code.
foot.
No,
That's
We
all been
changed the
changed.
code. It's
Okay.
based on valuation.
valuation, whatever, okay. Thank you.
Any other council? Okay, hearing none, we're now going to move and open up the public hearing. Again, the public is invited to talk about this item. Please, if you would like to make a comment, we can go to the podium.
That's what I do. I guess that's what I do.
And
Now I'm not building a house.
And we will address, we have anybody online?
Just Will.
Yes, well, okay. So we will keep it within,
Hi, my name's Veronica Matilde, and I do have a question because, and I don't understand it, so that's what I'm curious. With this ordinance, if we already have code from up above, somebody else, not the city, and it's all been there and enacted, and you're saying that it works on valuation of the home, who decides the value? Because if that's, oh, the builder says it's gonna cost this much money, if they're going to be subcontracting out and that contract is now having to process through this very specific code, then don't you see that that could easily raise that valuation? Or am I totally off base?
I think Amy needs to explain what valuation means. It's not, we put a price tag on it, it's
Thank
based on
you.
square
Yeah.
footage, et cetera.
So it's the valuation of the building, basically is what the fees are based off of. Whether or not we adopted this code, the valuation was not going to change. Whether or not we adopted this code, you were still going to have to address grading whenever you graded.
Right.
So what we had intended to do with this code is actually adopt standards so that people did not have to guess what might be in the building code, but that so when a developer came in, they knew by looking at our code and not having to guess at what state law might be or guess at what other regulations might be. They knew what the predictable process was going to be, which was why Calaveras County adopted theirs and why we adopted ours to implement our general plan.
So for example, there's a school mitigation fee that's based on a certain amount of dollars based on the square footage that you're building. There's a traffic mitigation fee that actually the council's looking at those fees and will continue. There's a study being done now for traffic mitigation. So it's not a guesstimate for what the house is. It's a formula that's used to determine what the valuation of the house is when we issue the permit. And then it's an all-inclusive thing. Does that make sense to you, Veronica?
It does.
Thank you.
It does.
Okay. So anyone else on this?
I have a follow-up question. Amy,
We have to bring it
Oh, I'm
back. We'll bring it back. I'm sorry, I want to make sure we're
No,
doing it correctly. Any other public comments?
None online.
Okay, now we will close the public hearing, bring it back. Scott?
when a building permit is presented to the city, do they have to tell you or decide or figure out how many yards of dirt they're gonna move?
So if it appears that they're going to have to move a lot of dirt, we may ask that question. In general, most of our single-family lots do not appear that way because they don't usually have to move that much dirt.
Right, so if this ordinance is in place, how will they have to determine whether or not 50 yards is gonna be, if it appears, then they have to hire an engineer or have to?
No, you never have to hire, according to our guidelines, after 1,000 cubic yards, it becomes an engineered grading plan that you have to prepare. Not 50, it's after 1,000 they have to be engineered.
So how do I determine if I'm gonna move 50 yards of dirt on the house I'm building to figure out
It's
whether or not I
often
have to?
judgment call from if our building inspector goes out there and sees that you may be having to move a lot of dirt, or based upon the plans that we initially get and review in-house, if it appears a lot of dirt's going to need to be moved, we may ask that question, or we may not. It would have to be a really steep lot before we would ask. We don't go looking for excuses to require a grading permit. We don't like processing them. And again, on the single-family residence, this would not require us to process one. Did I say anything that the city engineer or our building official would like to add? Since they assisted us in writing this code, and this is not something I implement. As the planner, I usually don't look at the building code.
I do not. I don't want to make this more than what it needs to be. If there's 50 yards, if someone's making a cut that's more than 2 feet, that's outside of these exemptions, that's when they need to get a separate permit. To calculate the volume, length times width times depth divided by 27, if you have the foot, 10 feet by 15 feet by 10 feet deep, divided by 27, if it's greater than 50, that's when you're in the world of a grading permit. In Angels Camp, a lot of the lots are small. It'd be very, very hard to do a significant excavation on some of these things. I'd offer if you're creating a fill that is 2 feet or more, I think is what the exemption is, less than 2 feet. If that was next to your house and someone's building a fill and it's not compacted, it can slough off there. So it's trying to protect your neighbors as much as it is your investment, as your neighbor's investment. I empathize with the, trying to restrict grading permits. When I was at Amador County, we came up with a exempt grading permit ordinance which was 350 yards, which means 500 yards exemption, so that people that had bigger parcels, they were building an arena for a horse pen or something like that, they could do that. They could build a road through their ranch without having to come in and get a permit. Typically, if someone's, has a steeper lot and they're excavating, they're going to do a retaining wall. Mike would send those plans to outside plan check for the structural and the retaining wall. That's going to be more than likely more than 50 yards, but it will be included in our review of those plans. So if you're building like a single family house, if you own a lot, you're building your own house, it's going to be handled through our building department. If you're Habitat for Humanity, you're moving 125,000 yards of dirt, that comes up with a set of plans that has grading involved, and that sends it to the city engineer's desk. We review it, make sure that the bills get put back together, because that's impacting a lot of people. It's not just one parcel, it's many residential parcels along the same grading activity. I hope I didn't confuse anything. If there's any more clarifications I can add, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you. Having sat on the All Hazards Committee, one of the things that I asked is for us to have a consistent set of plans that we can hand out to folks when they pick up a permit. And so I think what we're aiming to do is to take away the confusion. So it's not another layer of Big Brother looking at you. It's to make sure that there's uniformity and compliance. And so what we're going to do, if I pull a permit, I'm going to get this information, I can read through it, and I can make a decision about what we need to do, or ask Michael what we need to do, or our planning director. So again, what I appreciate is the fact that what we're trying to do is make it easier, not harder, and not play gotcha and with what we're doing. We're trying to make someone who's building a house have it be as good an experience as we can. So with that, any other council comments? Hearing none. Oh, that public hearing is closed. I see part of me says, okay. Okay.
It's closed.
It's closed.
You can't do that.
I can't do that.
Yeah, so Mike, in that, and based on what you just said, saying that the grading will be addressed as part of a building permit and separate grading permit will not be required. Addressed, that leaves an opening too. How's it going to be addressed? And that's going to be subjective based on whoever's addressing it. And if it's not that big of a deal, and it hardly ever happens for single family, and we've never had it out the wide, we can't just exempt single family residents on developed lots. So I like the idea of for commercial properties, if we're bigger, parcels, this makes perfect sense, but I don't know why we can't just exempt single families on fully developed lots. It's down to its final, you're in Angel Oaks, you're in Greenhorn, you're downtown, it's the final lot, it's not subdivided anymore. You're probably not likely to move 50 yards, but why even make it an issue or a thing to have to worry about? So again, if it's not that big a deal for the homeowner or for that, then let's just.
I would think that if there was a grade, like if someone's living up above someone else and you've got a grade out, or if you're building, or if you're bringing in dirt, fill dirt to a retaining wall, and it's over a certain amount of feet, you have to put in that stabilizing, you have to vibroplate, you have to do all this stuff, and it has to be engineered, and you have to get a permit for that. So I just feel like if you've got someone up above you, like there's neighbors up above you, that kind of make sure that somebody has that permit in hand so that they're not going to slide down into you if you have a torrential atmospheric river or something.
I mean, the home plans, they are, you have architects, they are engineered as well. And it's just, and you have contractors that are bonded and insured and know what they're doing. And having the city, in fact, you have the city inspector come out or issues a permit, isn't that also just adding liability to the city? Because now all of a sudden the city's got their stamp on it and they said, hey, this is okay. And if there's a problem in the future and you got an next door neighbor complaining about water running on there, now the city's involved?
But some of this stuff happens, well,
I think some of the stuff's already happening now.
Yeah.
This
Let me turn it off.
I think some of this is already happening now, and this just gives clarity to both parties. I think gives clarity to the city side and Aaron and everybody, and it also gives clarity to the homeowner side of what's required of you. And yeah, you have your plans engineered, and it's just another process to look at this, and it just makes things really.
Well, and I think it protects, as you said,
More liability, it gives us more leeway in terms of liability because we now have the process in place. But we all have our opinions, and that's why there's 5 of us, right?
yeah. All right, so any other comments from council? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 543.
Second.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Makata,
Aye.
Brolio,
Aye.
Behill.
Nay.
Okay, moving on to item 9C. Introduce, waive the first reading by substitution of the title and hold a public hearing and set May 20th, 2025 to consider ordinance 544, updating the City of Angels Municipal Code, Chapter 1520, floodplain management and flood damage prevention. Amy.
Mayor and council members, this is primarily an update to what we already had in 1996 to bring it into compliance with the California Model Ordinance, the Federal Emergency Management Agency Ordinance, and to implement 12 separate general plan goals, policies, and programs. We are also including provisions addressing creek setbacks for some level of predictability. No, there is not a set number. What we do is we define the same parameters that are used by the state. You take the bed banks, the top of the bank as part of the area that you would do as a setback. And the main difference in this that makes it longer is that there are provisions for if you want to build in a flood zone, how you can do it. Whereas our previous one did not have all of those provisions. And that's mainly found in section 1520 of this proposed code. As far as setbacks for creeks, it also includes exemptions that you may need for existing development that's already within a creek setback. That would not negate any problems with things along Bird's Way that are already there, no problem. If you want to build within that setback, you already have to comply with state and federal law. That's basically this in a nutshell. I know there's lots of definitions and it's a very long ordinance, but this is pretty much what most cities and counties in the state use, almost verbatim. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council?
Start the family.
Okay. Well, we'll start at this end. We'll switch it up.
I have some questions, but I'll ask Amy offline because at the next reading.
Yeah, same thing, good.
Okay. Caroline? Amy, I asked this question during the committee meeting. Sometimes creeks and waterways change course. And so you don't, I mean, if someone builds and then the creek moves, that person is still gonna be okay, correct?
Yeah, we're not gonna make, nobody is
No,
going to
right,
make you
okay.
move your house. Now, if you want to build afterwards and it's moved, you don't want to build in a flood zone.
Right.
If you try to get homeowners insurance, they're not going to want to insure you anyway. So this basically provides, when you come to get your building permit, how we would go about doing a review if you want to build in a flood zone. And includes a lot more options for us than our current code does for allowing you to do that following the provisions of this code.
Again, it's a document that can be shared with the public when they pull a permit,
Yes,
in case it applies to them.
yes.
Okay. Having no other council members?
Well, I have a question.
Oh,
I
you
said
do?
start that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He just put you off the side.
That's it, see? Don't mess with my routine.
In the report, it mentions there's an ordinance response. It says, it is determined that portions of an RV or mobile home park in the city are located in a flood hazard zone.
Yes.
And so I wanted to unpack that. How much are we talking about a little corner of a park, or how many people is that affecting? And what happens to them if this ordinance is passed? Positive or negative?
Nothing changes in this ordinance. However, should we pursue funding to help that particular subdivision or mobile home park, which has things parked in it, we might be able to help them because we are in compliance with state and federal standards.
Okay, so this isn't gonna require anybody to spend a bunch of money or move stuff away?
This does
or
not
anything like
require
that?
you to
Okay.
change anything you've already done.
Any other council comments? Hearing none, we'll open up the public hearing regarding this item. Any public that would like to address this item may step up to the podium and say your name and share. Anyone? Anyone online?
Nope.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the council. Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
No.
We're just moving.
Oh, we're just moving on it.
This
Thank
is
you.
first reading.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item D. Introduce, waive the first reading by substitution of the title and hold a public hearing and set May 20th, 2025 to consider ordinance 545 amending Angels Camp Municipal Code Section 12.09.120, adding a definition of large format retail. Revising Angels Camp Municipal Code Section 1730.030 to allow large format retail in excess of 80,000 square feet as a conditional use in the shopping center commercial zoning district, and amending section 17.27.020 to allow large format retail establishments as a conditional use in the community commercial CC zoning district. Both amendments subject to the same large format retail requirements established in section 17.30.050. Amy.
My presentation is shorter than that. In 2008, with the recession, many big box stores were closing and there were big box stores around. In response, in 2010, the city adopted what they considered their big box ordinance and limited the size that you could have. Since that time, many of those large big box stores have now started downsizing, especially after COVID. We've talked with two of our most likely developers of shopping centers and asked them what would prevent socks and underwear from being sold in Angels Camp. This ordinance is about socks and underwear. And how we might be able to attract a retailer who would be willing to sell that in the city, and the response was because of your large format retail provisions. So we had Mr. Fullaway was present at our planning commission meeting, and we had a very spirited debate about that. And his request was, you know, I can see where that might be necessary, but I want to maintain local control. Therefore, the planning commission recommended adoption of this, but that we make it always a conditional use permit in order to do larger than 80,000 square feet, which you can already do in shopping center commercial, and require a conditional use permit if we are to allow it in community commercial. I hope that made some sort of sense, but again, we did work pretty closely with the two owners who have enough land in the city in commercially zoned parcels to want to pursue this type of retail outlet. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Good.
Okay.
Oh, forget you. I gotta go this way.
Yes.
In the resolution, it says that we are revising the code, removing the 80,000 square foot limit on large format retail establishments as it goes. So that kind of implies that we're putting all large retail into the conditional use permit, not just the over 80,000. And then other place in the report, it implies the opposite. So I want to make sure the resolution is accurate. Are we making all large retail subject to conditional use permit, or are we?
Poorly written staff report, my apologies.
No, it's the resolution.
Oh, okay, so in the actual code itself, what is going to happen, and I can correct that, is 80,000 square feet is already permitted, and we're not going to change that in shopping center commercial. If you want to go to 80,001, 85,000, 100,000 shopping center commercial, conditional use permit. If you want to do any size large format retail in community commercial, conditional use permit. I didn't want to take away anything you can already do,
Okay,
but wanted to lift the limit and put it under a conditional use permit. And if that's not clear, I will
yeah,
go back through that.
now therefore be it resolved, it
Okay.
makes it look like we're just wiping out all of it.
We can correct that for
Okay.
your second reading.
So, any other council?
Thanks, Scott, because I had excess of 80,000 conditional use.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm excited for this.
Okay, moving on to our public hearing now regarding this matter. Does any public want to address the council on this agenda item? Anyone online?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move it back to council. Are we just doing the same thing?
Yeah,
We have
same
the
thing.
resolution? Okay.
That's the planning commission.
No, okay.
It's not that close to your bedroom.
So we'll move on to item E has been tabled. And what did I do?
No, the need to just grab the good check.
Oh, okay, good.
We're all good.
I'm glad. We're on to item F, adopt resolution number 2522, hereby ratifying the construction services agreement between the City of Angels and Neerich & Sons and Company for the Mark Twain Water System Improvement Project and authorizing execution of the agreement by the city administrator with an amount not to exceed $787,955. Dave Richards.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. This is the final step in implementing the contract with Neerich & Associates. They have submitted their paperwork. They have executed their part of their contract. The contract documents have been reviewed and approved by the city attorney. They have submitted their bonds and insurance. And we are ready to, we are asking council to ratify this agreement, allow our city administrator to sign the agreement, and allow us then to issue a notice to proceed for tomorrow, assuming that approval of all the documents tonight, and the actual start of the project with a pre-construction meeting at 8:30 tomorrow morning, right in front of the school, if there's agreement at the council level. This is a project that is intended to improve the water deliveries, that part of the city system, increase our or the ability of us to deliver water for fire protection. Eliminate some dead-end lines and improve the maintainability of the project, and in general replace undersized lines, and it's part of our program of upgrading the service throughout the city, starting with this project.
So Dave, I was under the impression during the first presentation that work would begin after school was out. So you're just going to do your pre-construction meeting, but when do you think work will commence?
Well, probably it's more on the order of toward the end of May or early June, and we'll actually see activity there.
Okay.
One of the things to keep in mind is that the school actually has a very narrow window when students are not on site. And so, in any event, there are a number of restrictions on the contractor's part that he has to observe to make sure that there are no issues, any impacts to parents being able to drop off and pick up their students. The other thing is we will have a community meeting. We haven't scheduled that yet, but before the actual contractors begins actually construction on site, a community meeting. We've had a newsletter that has gone out before, describing for the local residents the project and the timing, and it'll be an opportunity, this community meeting, to meet the contractor superintendent, kind of walk through again the schedule and talk again about the precautions that the contractor will take to minimize any impacts to the public.
And I have one more then, and then during that discussion, we also talked about maybe coordination for the automatic meter readers with the subcontractor. Were we able to ever do anything with that? So as we do the re-hookups?
I don't want to steal anyone's thunder.
No, it's all right. Yeah, we're currently working on trying to get that done in this, but the houses that are affected in this project, it may just be my crew installing them.
Okay.
Because we haven't gone out with an RFP for a contractor for that yet.
Okay.
That's gonna come up on next year's budget because the dollars for this year have already been spent.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Any other council member?
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this project taken off, and I'm very happy with the CIP projects that have finally started occurring, because we did raise water rates 4+ years ago, and it took some time to build those coffers and get things going. But I would like to thank Dave and Chris and all staff included on doing this, and Aaron and everybody, because I'm really excited about getting this project done and help with water sewer in the city. So, thank you.
It's good to walk the talk. Isabel?
No, good, thank you.
Caroline?
I'm good.
Any public comment? Hearing none. Anyone online? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution number 2522.
Wait, any other, no other comments from the public or council? Roll call.
Okay, Shemente,
Aye.
Sharado,
Aye.
Mikado,
Aye.
Behill,
Aye.
oh, Brolio.
Hi.
Okay. Motion passed 5-0. Moving on to item G.
You guys pick great signing on that.
But yeah, we don't have to sign anything, guys, because you've been here and everything's good?
No, we're okay.
Okay.
He's looking at
I like where this
Anything happens,
goes.
anything happens, I'll yell at Drive.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for showing up.
Thank you for showing up, guys.
City Hall.
Okay. Item G, adopt resolution 25-25, thereby approving the First Amendment to Task Order number 20, which would increase the budget for Task Order number 20 by $25,423 to fund additional work effort requested by the city for 24-25 transportation funding and city project engineering. Aaron is sitting at the table. Aaron.
Mayor, members of council, what you have here before you is an amendment to Task Order 20, which is our general city engineering support services and transportation support services. Over the past year, we've supported Chris and his team. This is the third city administration, city manager. So working through all the things we've done in the last year, I was requested by interim city manager Steve Williams to prepare a mid-year budget adjustment if we needed any additional funding to complete this fiscal year. So in the items that he asked us to include were assistance for the Safe Streets and Roads for grant assistance. There's a former Napa Auto Parts in the pickle porch parking, wanted to develop those, come up with some concepts to develop those as parking areas, kind of on the CIP train. They would be exhibits to show what could be done there and probable opinions of construction costs to do that work, so that those things could either be programmed for implementation or the council would have an opportunity to make a decision once some information is known about budget and what could be done. We also did some observation on Bird's Way. I reported that, I think it was 2 meetings ago, the findings there. So essentially, we need additional budget to finish all the things that are on our list, or that were requested to be put on our list for this next year, as well as providing additional continued engineering support to the city for the months of, was it May and June now? So 2 months now. Any specific questions? I feel like I'm glossing over it, but I'm like into the weeds and I'm not seeing the forest through the trees, but if there's anything I can illuminate, please let me know.
Isabel?
No, I guess I should, because I don't think you just touched on this, the budget transfer from Dewberry to Ray, because.
I purposely did not address that because it's confusing and adds confusion to what is being requested. There's a lot of accounting in here where I'm a sub to a sub to Dewberry. So that's why I can try to explain it.
I get it,
No,
but
I got
because you
it,
didn't
but
talk
maybe-
about it, I
yeah.
wasn't sure if we should mention it for the public's purpose, or for the public's sake. Because these are their dollars.
Yeah, so.
You're sub to sub.
Right, but a sub to a sub makes sense, and you've since switched employers, which is part of where the dollars are coming from
Correct.
to make that shift.
So essentially, I asked for $53,000, and the change order is coming across as a request for $23,000 because last year when the budget of $70,000 was assigned to, allocated to city engineering services, to the services that I've been providing, Dewberry reserved 15, REY, whom I am a sub to, reserved 20, and 35 was assigned to me, and this is not like a retainer, this is hourly that we bill, we submit invoices and they get paid. So essentially Dewberry didn't use all of their budget and REY did not use all of their budget. So in the agenda item, they're showing a deduction. They're saying, well, we're not gonna use this money. Let's give it back to the program so that Aaron can move forward with what he needs to do. And then we need to supplement it by an additional $23,000 to finish it. So they came up with a component out of the budget that was assigned to them that they were reserving. They don't need to reserve anymore, and now there's additional $23,000 that's requested.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that explanation, because when I read it, it almost sounded like you switched employers and now they're tacking on $23,000. But I also remember the conversation we had with Steve, and so, correct me if I'm wrong, the budget originally was set at $70,000 for the tasks that would be decided upon for you guys to do, correct? And then council, through Steve, came up with these 3 additional projects that weren't part of the original $70,000. So the Birds Way, the striping the parking lot, and the old Napa building were projects that the council directed the then interim city manager to go to you and say, we want you to look at these projects.
These projects accounted for your 20% of the budget, so.
Right.
It's putting it in a bow, putting it in a package so that it's like you can identify where that money was spent. There's continued support, answering phone calls,
Right.
participating in meetings. That's
Right.
all like comes out of that 70. But when you have a project that you can clearly identify, that was the goal there.
And so I'll open up the can of worms. I've been watching, we have to thank Gretel because when she starts parking, everybody else parks the way they're supposed to park. So I'm just wondering, going into the next year's budget and knowing that our economy is starting to slow down, I don't know how the council feels about looking at some of these projects and maybe just tabling them. I don't know how much work you've done on them already, but I'm not sure now that, I don't know what benefit we would receive except maybe for clarity of striping the parking lot next to the pickle porch, because people are just parking there like they should be parking. So is there a way to save money? And maybe not, and maybe we can go just forward with it.
If the council did not want to move that project forward, strike that line item. It's pickle porch parking, $10,000, strike it.
Right. And I'm not sure, and Aaron, what were we asking you to do with the Napa?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the Napa, was Amy to weigh in here. The Calaveras Council of Governments was working with a entity to do some electrical vehicle charging facilities.
Okay.
So to do that,
Okay.
we needed to figure out how they could configure that space. It's got topographic challenges,
It does.
electricals on one side, there's not power on the other. So it was trying to figure out what could be done there to facilitate that EV charging and a parking opportunity in downtown. Now, I don't know the status of that EV.
They did not get the funding.
So they did not get the funding for that. So if the council did not want to move forward with that, again, we could strike a line through it and go down the road. But if you want parking there, the purpose of this is to look at two alternatives. Where one, we get rid of Sam's Way and circulate people further into town to create more parking opportunities downtown. But
and if I remember right, we talked about cleaning that up too. We'd have the park all done, and then there's where Napa used to sit. So it's kind of cleaning that whole, sorry, that was bad.
No, but that's
that
exactly
was
it.
all cleaning that whole area up and looking at traffic flow through there. And we also, there's a lot next door where we could make a road down through. Sam's Way could actually be mitigated or however, whatever we want to do with it. There's stuff going on there to complete that.
Yes, so this effort
And then, yeah,
would provide you some exhibits to look at on the screen to circulate. Yeah, this is something we want to do. And again, you could add it to the capital improvement project program at that point in time. This may not be a project, maybe a project for next summer or 5 summers from there.
Okay.
But it just gives this is a plan. This is not engineered drawings where we're going to set lines and grades. This is a good idea of what could happen there, realistically happen there.
And I would assume, I don't know, that this might be RSTIP money or CMAC, or I don't know where that could fit in, but then you have something that's already engineered.
So it's like if there were grants available, this would put us in line because we almost have a shovel-ready project.
I don't think it's much.
It's not quite shovel-ready, but at least
We've identified a project.
You've identified a project.
You're further along with your conceptual development. You've got a conceptual development, yeah, a conceptual idea of what that should be.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was kind of.
So I need clarification on some of these numbers, if you don't mind. The ask is 53,000, and I think that means that basically all these projects would be covered, including the as-needed city engineering services are covered. So that should get us to the end of the year.
Correct.
Okay. And I understand that Dewberry, out of the $15,000 they were budgeted, only spent $500.
That is correct.
And I understand REY was budgeted $20,000, they only spent $6,923.
Is it 6923 or 45? I mean, something different.
I'm looking at the staff reports, I don't know.
If that's what's in here, then I would say that that's correct.
So a total of $7,423 out of the $70,000 has been spent. Now, the ask is for $53,000. Or basically, the ask is for $23,000 or $25,000 more than the $70,000 budget. But the $53,000 would easily fit inside the 70. So I'm losing. I suspect I'm losing $35,000 that is somehow counted as a cost as opposed to a budget.
The $35,000 has been spent monthly since the last fiscal year. That was the budget that I started with. And so as that budget dwindled down, I would send a request for amendment to REY and then to Dewberry to get additional funds allocated so they could take it out of either what they had reserved or come to the city council. And they haven't had to come back. This is.
Okay, so $35,000 was not just a budget item, that was actually been expensed.
Yeah, we spent that.
We spent that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the transfer over, okay, it's kind of convoluted, but, yeah, I'm kind of, to Michael's point, I'm kind of in the camp that let's postpone these parking lot exhibits. The one on Napa was part of a report that's not going to be implemented for decades in all likelihood, if ever. And the other pickle porch, I don't know that we get a lot of value out of that. So I'm not opposed to putting those things off. And then that way we basically don't have an issue anymore. We'll just tighten our belt a little bit until the end of June and not spend the whole 20 grand that's allocated for the engineering. We don't need to add money to it.
You still need to have the 20. You would strike the 14 and the 10.
So that's striking 24, and the ask is 25. So I figure we can save 14 or $1,500 between now and the end of June somehow.
I have a clarification question. On page 170, which is the letter.
Oh, she's got her done.
The letter that was sent, the numbers there are different than. So what did I miss?
I didn't write that memo. I'm sorry.
Okay.
They are different. And that's.
I just noticed right there on budget amendment, budget transfer, it says 30,000 and then amendment number one's 23, so total 23,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then next line, it says 20,033, but then when you go look at, I guess I just want to make sure that, what math are we looking at?
So that's a good question, because I've spent all that money, so getting to the end of the, I need additional budget to get through the next 2 months.
Okay.
Not to complete the two studies, the two studies, the parking studies, but to do general engineering support.
How much do you need to get through? So in the first 10 months,
$10,000.
the first 10 months of the year, basically spent 42,000, so, okay.
So
you're
Aaron,
talking
you
about
need an
$10,000.
additional $10,000
Yeah.
to get us through the year, if we delete those two
Yeah.
projects.
And that's opposed to the 20,000 that's in the chart. Because it says for as needed city engineering services, 20,000.
This was done as a mid-year budget adjustment, projecting 6 months. We're looking at the best information I had. I'm less than 60 days away from the end, so now I'm comfortable saying I can reduce that.
Okay, so, okay,
And so,
it's complicated.
so Aaron, so you're available day to day to respond to questions from Chris and staff, et cetera. Does this additional $10,000 that we're allocating, would that allow you to explore, for example, it came up at a meeting, putting no parking signs up 100 feet back from the corner of Murphy's Grade Road and Gardner so that people don't park at that intersection? Would that be included, or would that be an additional task at additional cost?
That would be something that little things like that I would anticipate moving forward. That's,
Okay,
responding to those things, I think that would be covered in there.
okay,
It will.
okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? Any comments from the public?
I'm Veronica. I appreciate all the projects, and I do also want to just say that I appreciate the fact that we're trying to be conservative with our money here, because it's all our money. And I agree 100%. It's like, let's not worry about striping. People park there just fine. You could probably never stripe it and you'll be just fine. And the other projects, yeah, let's be conservative. Let's see how it all plays out, and let's save our money until we're feeling flush again. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anyone online?
No.
Looking for the council for some direction through a motion.
We're good.
Okay, I'll move that we strike the Napa Auto Parts estimate, the pickle porch parking estimate, and the as-needed city service, engineering services, knock that down to 10,000. By doing that, I guess we don't have to knock it down. So I move that we table both parking lots and just proceed as usual. And there will be the 70,000 initial budget will more than cover what's needed.
So you're not you're not making a motion for the task order? Am I understanding that correct?
For the what?
For the task order, being that it's already at 70 and this is for an additional 23 or 25? Because you just said to do it for 70, so I'm getting clarification if you're just rejecting the
I'm rejecting the parking and the ask for funds. Because if you eliminate the 24,000 in parking, you eliminate the need for any additional funds. Especially now that we understand that with only 7 weeks left in the year, we can knock that 20,000 down to 10.
So it says pickle porch is 10 and then 14 for Napa, is that what it's already done?
Yeah, no, that's not done.
Okay.
That's all, no, that's work that hasn't been done yet. So if we take those out of there, that's 24,000, and then you knock 10,000 off the engineering services as an estimate, we're 34,000 short. So our initial budget is going to be more than enough cover, so we don't need to take any action other than just to say, don't do the parking lots.
I don't
Can
know
we
if
do
that,
it like that?
Okay, that's not, the initial $70,000, 62 of that's been spent.
Or do we do it?
And then 7 of that by REY, 500 by Dewberry.
Right.
We need additional budget to finish the thing. I agree that table is not clear on that, but if the motion could be crafted where we reduce the city engineering services to an additional 10,000, you have the 6,000 for the streets and roads for all grant, 3,000 for birds away observation and reporting, that would be $19,000. Is that right?
Yeah.
$19,000. That's what I need to finish. And then I believe that's gonna be on, so we have 19.
But don't you already have that in the budget?
So I have a weird question. Does any of this have to happen in the next 2 weeks to finish anything up? Because the numbers, I'm just starting out, the numbers are kind of all over.
They are trying to do the math myself here, just.
Right, so by any chance, will
Can we bring it
will
back?
any project be halted in the next 2 weeks if we don't approve this tonight?
No.
Okay,
No,
so
no.
could we bring this back? Could we bring this back with a simplified?
I'm not gonna leave you hanging, yes. You have an engineer for 2 weeks, but it's gonna go, yeah.
And for me, the only thing, just the clarity of the numbers will make a big difference in my mind, and I think everybody else's too. But, and then for me speaking on this, like the pickle porch, we as a council gave direction to move forward with that. So there's, and I'm not saying we can't change our mind or things change, and I know we're down 8%, according from Michelle's, we're down sales tax. There are things that have changed, I'm not disputing that, but we did give direction on pickle porch and to move forward with that. And we gave direction on Napa to move forward with that and make this whole thing. So I'm not saying that we don't need to tighten our belt, that's not what I'm saying, but we did give direction. So I think there's some thought to this on, in my opinion, there needs to be a little more thought into this too. So that's my 2 cents.
I'm happy to come back in 2 weeks with a table that's clear.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yes.
If that works for everybody else.
Because, yeah, I heard a lot of confusion here. I don't hear anybody objecting to what needs to be done. It's just, this is.
We're just not sure what you need.
It sounds like it was a $23,000 ask, we cut 24 out.
Right, so we should give me $1,000 back, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's.
you gotta write us a check.
Be here next week, no shit.
Exactly.
I appreciate your comments, Alvin. I just think these are uncertain economic times now. You know, and I think we just have to be mindful of that. But it was direction, and thank you, Aaron, for reminding us that we did give direction to our interim city manager to go forward and put those projects. We did.
Yes.
And if they had been done, then, yeah,
Right.
I guess. So, all right, so at this point, we're going to basically table this item and bring it back on the 20th with a clear definition of cost. And maybe options.
I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. Thank you, Aaron.
No worries, thank you for
I
answering our
appreciate
questions.
it. And thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Okay. We are now moving on to item number H, authorization to advertise requests for proposals for grazing lease of city-owned property, 2600 South Main Street. Chris O'Flynn.
Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. I am here to ask your blessing to go ahead and advertise request for proposals for a grazing lease at our Sprayfield property.
Thank you, Chris, for bringing this to our attention. I especially appreciate the fact that what's included in this lease is that the leasing maintains the sprinklers. I think that's huge for me. Any other comments from the council?
They're aware that the PG&E contract is going on that property?
Yes, they will be aware of that.
Great.
Any questions from the public?
Very fine.
You got it.
I read this document and I didn't find if there was going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. In the past, it's been 5 years. Is there any direction on council?
She said that, I asked Michelle Gonzalez that question, and she said it is in the paperwork that anyone who's requesting this, it is in there, the terminal lease is in there.
Okay.
It's, yeah, I did ask that question because I didn't see it either.
And we add it, I think that's an important thing to note when we're putting this out. So
Right.
can we just add that?
Right, I think, yeah, I don't know why it was not included in this RFP.
What is the term?
5.
It has been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
If council would like to adjust that, you guys have the opportunity to do so.
Right.
It doesn't have to be 5 years for any specific reason, that's just typically what's
I'm happy with 5.
I think 5's good, but if we can just add it on as a bullet point on there, just so
So
people
that-
know what they're getting into.
So it's there.
Thank you.
But somehow it's in some piece of paperwork that they do receive,
Yeah,
as I understand it. Thank you for that comment. So is our motion to authorize staff to?
So moved.
Second, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? From the public, council, hearing none?
Shemente?
Aye.
Sharada?
Aye.
Mikado?
Aye.
Berlio?
Aye.
Behill?
Aye.
Item I, approve resolution number 25-20 to retain revenue in excess of estimates pursuant to section 3.5709 subsection E, measure A, measure A, fire sales tax fiscal year 2024-25. So, Pam?
Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council, staff is proposing for City Council to adopt resolution number 2520. This will authorize the City of Angels to retain as a cash carryover Measure A revenue received in fiscal year 24-25 that exceeds 100% but does not exceed 110% of the estimated sales tax revenue. To give you a little bit of background, the fiscal year 24-25 estimate for countrywide revenue for Measure A was $2,550,000. As of April 2025, the county has received $2.4 million, representing 96.5% of the estimate, with 2 more distributions remaining, May and June. Staff anticipates total revenue will exceed both 100% and possibly 110% of the estimate. If no action is taken, funds exceeding 100% of the estimate will revert back to the countywide Calaveras Local Fire Protection Fund and be distributed among all 10 agencies for fiscal year 25-26. Therefore, timely council action is necessary to ensure that the City of Angels retains this additional revenue for local use in the future years.
Comments from council? Caroline?
So on this, I understand that if we don't pass this, we could lose that funding, but I want to be proactive and ask the question that if we are budgeting general fund money towards the fire department, can we back that off so that more funding from Measure A will fill that gap so that we don't have to send funds back to the general pot?
We will, from what I understand, the way that the distribution works, Measure A funds are touched first, and then the last pot of money that is touched is the general fund. Staff will revisit that to make sure that we would do that.
So that if we get over 110%, we actually back off general fund money and make sure it's all measuring money being used.
Will do.
Albert?
I'm with Caroline on that.
Isabel? Scott? You know, it sounds like we're gonna need a resolution like this every year in order to retain our 10% carryover.
That is correct.
And if we don't have a resolution, that money goes back to the county and split up. So this makes good sense to move forward with this resolution. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve this resolution.
One second.
Shemente?
Aye.
Sharada?
Aye.
Mikado?
Aye.
Berlio?
Aye.
Behill?
Aye.
Item J, discuss and consider request from Altaville Cemetery District to waive meter evaluation fees for the Catholic Cemetery and Protestant Cemetery with a total amount of $600.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. What is before you is a for City Council to consider the fee waiver requests coming from Altaville Cemetery District to waive meter evaluation fees totaling $600. The fees in conjunction with the review of existing water meters for 2 of the 3 district cemeteries, namely Catholic Cemetery and the Protestant Cemetery. The $300 of that fee is for the Catholic Cemetery and the other one is for the Protestant Cemetery. While you're considering this item, staff would like to advise the City Council that there is a resolution 22-12, which is a no waiver fee policy, which was adopted on April 19 of 2022. And should, the resolution pretty much encapsulates the fact that the waiving of fees must be done in a manner as to not create a gift of public funds. Secondly, that to waive fees of any kind and request for such be treated as a variance to be addressed by City Council as a variance to the policy. The city, in adherence to this own policy, charges its own city departments for water meter evaluations, since said fees are used to pay for consulting engineering costs. Now, should council decide to partially or fully grant the fee waiver as requested by the Altaville Cemetery District, the city will be paying for the consulting engineering costs for water meter evaluation using the city's water funds.
Thank you. Council comments?
This is more of a clarification. So the $600 fee waiver that's being requested is simply for the engineer to
Determine whether or
just
not.
water
they
meter
have-
evaluation, correct?
Correct.
And then after that, if there's more fees and they want a fee waiver, I'm assuming they'll come, or however that works. I just want to make sure that it's the 600 and not more, that there's no hidden costs.
Yes, so normally waivers come in different forms. This type of waiver, what it is that it applies to the actual engineering costs. This is very different from special events where what's happening was being forgiven is staff time. This one, however, is basically the engineering costs. So what's happening is that somebody has to pay for those fees. And I just wanted to, for transparency, I just wanted for council to understand that one way, shape, or form, somebody has to pay for these fees. So, so what will happen is that if we do accept the waiver, the city will have to pay it, and we will use the water funds to do that. It's very different from when staff devotes this time and then.
Right.
And for the social benefit, we forgive those fees and not charge the city. I mean, not charge the person who applied for the waiver.
Caroline, you pushed your button first, you win.
So is Will online? Yes. So I just wanted to ask him a question about the gift of public funds. That I just wanted some clarity on that from our general counsel.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Turn off your mic on Teams.
Yeah, I don't have a concern for gift of public funds. You could decide to waive these fees because it's in the best interest of the community for whatever reason. So I do not think this would count.
So,
What type of entity is the Altaville Cemetery District?
It is still there.
Yes, thank you, Will.
You might have to add it.
I just did.
There you go.
Ms. Ponte, thank you very much.
Special district.
Wait, I'm not, wait, we haven't done yet, I haven't opened it up.
Oh, I asked a question. I asked what kind
Oh,
of
okay.
entity, what kind of entity the Altaville Cemetery District is. And with
I'm
that,
sorry.
I won't say that.
come on, Mike, keep.
We're a special district of Calaveras County called the Cemetery District. We were formed in 1927 and we're funded by 0.01% of property tax in the 95221 and 22 zip code for 3 cemeteries.
Thank you for that clarification. And thank you, Scott, for asking the question.
Follow-up question. How much does the county, how much do you get out of that 0.0 whatever percentage? What's your total budget on that?
About $85,000 a year to maintain the cemeteries.
How much do you get from the county though?
The property tax is $85,000 a year.
Oh, okay.
So this would not be a gift of public funds because it's a public entity. Is that
And we could wait. Alvin, any comments?
I don't know, I'm kind of torn, so, because it is a public, it's 100% a public entity that is funded solely through taxpayer. There's no, or do you guys get, when you sell a plot?
We sell a plot.
Or donations?
No donations. We
Okay.
don't get donations.
Okay.
So we sell a plot, we sell about 2 or 3 plots a year. Sometimes it can be more. That's typically what we're, a lot of people are being buried in their existing family plots. So it's a fee, we're asking for the fee waiver, if I may speak a little bit more to this.
Wait, I just have a question before we move, and I don't mean to cut you off, but as I understand it, this is the second time that the cemetery district has requested their meters to be downsized. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, and at that time, the cemetery district paid the $600 to have, it was waived at that point also?
We paid 300 of 6 at that time.
You paid half of it for both cemeteries?
I think the fee was 150 per at the time. We paid 300. I don't know how it got broken.
So then that's what, I'm gonna assume that that's what the fee was at that particular time, for sake of argument. In my mind, I'm not sure what the additional study is gonna do. So when they did the original, when the engineer did the original study, he made a determination that they could downsize. And I'm assuming if you looked at the report, it would either be downsized to the 3/4 inch meter or the 5/8 meter. And I'm assuming that the cemetery district decided to go with the 3/4, and now you want to go to a 5/8. So I'm not sure what good it would do to do another study. In my mind, the study's already been done. So I appreciate the former city council looking at that resolution, but I don't think those facts apply to this because I believe the study's already been done. And so I'm not sure what good an additional study is going to do. That's my 2 cents on that.
And it was. Whatever reason, way back in the day, maybe even back in 1927, they put in much larger meters than what was necessary, whether they thought maybe they were going to plant green grass and add a toilet and all of those things, but we haven't done any of that. So our water use doesn't even measure on the scope. So it was suggested that we try the 1 inch because we were looking at expanding the cemetery. We had 1 acre expansion last year. During that expansion period, Weber Gio was our engineers on site at that point, and they suggested that we go to 5/8. We'll never grow enough to meet any other meter read. So this is what's added to that as we finish that project, and based on that engineer's assessment, we're coming back to say we want 5/8. So I have about 4 engineering studies that say the 5/8, and that's where we're at now, is trying to get to the 5/8 meter. We water a few basic heritage type plants. It's watering for people bringing vases out for their loved ones and putting on the gravesides, and that's it. Hand washing maybe a little bit. We don't have any kind of sewer, we don't have faucets for drinking water. It's very minimal use, so 5/8 more than meets our needs. When we switched out several years ago, it was noted at that time, and again, looking at that 1 acre expansion, that's why we did not go to 5/8 at that time. So there's a study out there, I did request it. I have not been able to get it and read it myself. When we did the expansion, we asked Weber Gio to look at it, they looked at it, that was a recommendation for them. And so here we are now, number 3, trying to get to a 5/8. We have agreed to pay for the cost of putting the meter in, that's what we paid for before. I think that bill was close to $500-600 for 2 meters and the staff to put it in from the city. And, of course, willing to do that now because we recognize the staff time to do that.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I I can't walk.
Yes, you can.
You got those new knees, yeah.
Yeah, so you're good.
Yeah, the 300 and 300 is supposed to be for engineering, but you say you have a study, an engineering study, that shows that you can go down to 5As.
The city has the initial study.
Okay, so that means an engineering study doesn't need to be done again, right?
He's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so they're trying to waive a fee that's not gonna be charged if another engineering study isn't gonna happen.
So the fees that we charge are based on the city conducting an engineering task.
And you have to conduct another one if you've already got one.
I am arguing that there's already one there, which allows them to downsize. They've already paid the fee, and so they're coming back. I believe that they've already done it. Now with the study from the engineer, it kind of collaborates the fact that they can support a 5/8 meter. I believe the fee should be waived, because I think they've done their due diligence, and there doesn't seem to be a reason why we have to add another layer to that.
So another
document.
study isn't gonna be done.
I don't know that yet. We need to have a motion, and we need to see how
But
the
if it's
council
not
does.
done, then you're not basically having to waive a fee, right? Because
At
the
this
fee
point,
only
unless we waive the fee based on the facts that have been presented, the cemetery district will be charged $600 for another study, for those meters to be installed.
And that's for the city to decide if another study has to be done.
It's not, it's for the cost of the study, it's not to have another study decided. So it's the cost associated with determining whether or not, like if I wanted to downsize my meter, it would cost me $600 for the city to make a decision based on the number of things that I have. They call it something, I forget now. You know, how many toilets I have, how many sinks I have, yada, 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 whether or not I can handle a 5/8 meter.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think maybe where the confusion is happening is that you're saying that because this was already paid for, why do we have to do it again? It's because standards and things change over time.
Okay,
Is that
so
what
the
you're-
report may not be, you can't bring that report if it's older than
Well,
so much
you
time. You
can.
can't bring it forward and use it.
You can, but because there are new standards that have been applied, you don't
It
want to
doesn't
just say,
fit.
here you go, this is it. You want to have the engineer
Okay.
look and just double check that
makes
everything's,
sense.
is that
Okay,
kind of the?
no, that's where I get it, okay. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor, can I weigh in on this a little bit?
Wait, yes, sir. Just let Veronica speak and then we'll come to you. Go ahead, Veronica.
Hi.
That was a long time to get out.
And I understand the confusion, and I see, could you clarify, when was this, the last study that you know of performed?
I want to say 2010. I'd have to look here.
So, given that there's a previous study, and I understand that everything does change, everything changes. But at the same time, you have to look at the cemetery, and it's dirt. I mean, literally, I see that they can't use much. So just on a public opinion, I'd say, let's keep it simple. And I just can't see that there's some big, huge change, and maybe, city can speak to it. But I say, keep it simple, waive it, and move forward.
Chris.
Okay, so let me simplify this. So an engineering study makes sense if this was a building or a business with like a fire sprinkler system or something like that.
Sure.
But since it is a cemetery, they have very little water use. I think it's a moot point. I don't think we need to do this exercise. I think we should just get rid of this whole thing and let them go ahead and do it.
Okay, bring it back to council. Is there a motion?
Hold on.
Or question?
So, I do have a question. So, Veronica answered part of it was 2010. Do you have, or does the city or do you have, oh, go for it.
2021 is when we did it.
No, sorry.
Wow.
2021.
Okay.
And we paid $475.80 for the 2 meters and staff time to replace 2 meters.
So I would love to just pull that report and try and go off of that report, but like you said, he trumped me on what he just said anyway, so, if city staff is willing to say that let's just do this off of water usage, then I'm fine with that.
Is that a
So then
motion?
no, it's a moot. Well, yes, it would be.
Yeah, because
It would be a motion to follow Chris O'Flynn's recommendation. I'll make that motion.
I think, would you include to waive the fees for the
There's
cemetery?
no fee
district?
though. Just drop it. Chris is saying he will go do it, right?
It's an application fee, so
It's
that's
an
not very
application
easy. So I'll make a motion that we waive the application fee of $600 for the Alphaville Cemetery.
We'll second that.
Okay, there's been a first and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Anyone here? Anyone online? No, cheerleading.
All right. Shemente.
Aye.
Sharado.
Aye.
Makata.
Aye.
Brolio.
Sure.
Behill.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for coming. Oh, the deep breath over there, Mr. Oh, gosh, jeez. All right, item K.
You need to come more often, Mike.
You need to come more often.
I need to come more
You
often.
do.
fun.
We appreciate it. Approved maintenance agreement between the City of Angels and the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, for radar feedback signs on Highway 49. Pam.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff is seeking council deliberation for the adoption of resolution number 2523, which would approve a maintenance agreement between the City of Angels and the California Department of Transportation, or Caltrans, as we know, for radar feedback signs on Highway 49. So two of the 4 radar feedback signs that were purchased previously were solar powered will be installed in Highway 49, which would require a maintenance agreement with Caltrans because that's their area. Locations of the 4 radar feedback signs have been identified as Highway 49 at Capella Road, Highway 49 at Utica Park, Murphy's Grade near Gardner Lane, and Vallecito Road near Booster Way. So these 2 radar feedback signs will be installed on Highway 49. Staff has worked with Caltrans to draft a maintenance agreement, and the city attorney had, both city attorneys on both sides have done their legal review. And this is therefore presented for your consideration and approval.
Chris, I have a question regarding, these radar signs will be placed on wooden posts to have an 1.5-inch breakaway. Not metal, huh? They're wood?
That's Caltrans spec.
Oh, that is, okay.
That's how we would have to do it.
So they break away.
Correct.
Okay, that's the question I have. Any other questions from council? No questions? Any questions from the public?
Do we have to have?
Go, might as well step up. You only got 2 minutes.
I'm Veronica. Are they temporary? Are they
No, they're
permanent? What are they
permanent.
for?
They're permanent.
Do we have to have?
To show people how fast they're driving?
So that they voluntarily slow down, so yes. So that they know how fast
Can we just
they're
ticket
going.
them? Wouldn't it be easier if you just made a camera there so that we could just tickle those people?
Oh, no cameras.
No.
I don't.
But it's Caltrans putting it in, and it's just a maintenance agreement.
It's more of an awareness
Yeah.
for people. It's more of an
Could you,
awareness.
I wear hearing aids. Could you repeat slowly and really loud the locations again?
Do you want to scroll?
You want to put them up
Yeah.
on the.
Yeah, it's sitting right there.
Or
When she's scrolling, my mom lives
Highway
in,
4 in Capella Park, and 49 in Utica Park, and Murphy's Grade near Garner Lane, and Vallecito near Booster Way.
so the entrance in the.
So they want to put one on 49 at Utica Park.
Yeah, because they're always speeding
When-
through downtown.
I live there, and they're always speeding.
I
live on it.
Are these, how big are these signs?
They're not that big. I mean,
But you can see them. They're.
yeah.
It's just a digital.
Yeah, have you seen the one when you're going into Columbia that sits right there on the side?
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah.
huh?
Uh-huh.
If you scroll into the pictures, then she can see the size of it up against Utica Park.
It's page 196.
Yeah.
196?
Yeah, 197.
Doesn't seem very friendly, but I'll show you a picture.
And
I mean, me personally, I actually slow down when I come into town when it says, 45. I actually go to 45, and probably before you're supposed to be at 35, I slow down. And I work downtown. Believe me, people speed. I'd like to just see more police presence and actually pull people over.
We would have to.
And it's like, maybe you can do 1 week of warnings and then 1 week of tickets. I don't know. It's like, slow down. But that's me. That's all.
I think Scott's been working on this project since I've been on council, he's been talking about
Not
the
this
installation.
Scott.
of
Yeah,
not
no,
this
I
Scott,
know.
but
any other public comments?
Chief Ellis.
Yeah, I'll just add something here. 3 of these signs were due to a grant that the police department acquired, so they're already paid for it. And the 4th one is paid for by Habitat for Humanity. So
Can
the
they have
sign's
frogs
already paid for.
around?
That's just basically, we just have to install them in this agreement with Caltrans to do the 2 on the highway.
Any other public? Go ahead. You have to walk in because it's good practice. So you do need some tips. Better girl.
Keep them mobile.
I just wonder who decided on the locations.
Shit.
Traffic. Caltrans? No, because I live on 49.
Yeah.
And I see them coming by. And I literally have been on 49 walking behind my car, which is parked right. I pull in, Mike knows where my car is, but I pull in, I'm walking behind my car, and they're going so fast to a stop sign. And I literally have gone like this and just swung my cane out and back in front of that car, and then I get a honk or I get a very loud few words, or yeah, I do. They'll flip me off, and it's like, it's 25. When I come in and I hit the 25, I have more people on my bumper coming into Angels from Sonora because I go down to 25. Before I get to the park, I drop it to 25, and everybody is always on my tail. But I live there, and I see them do, I don't know, I got the term from when I lived in New York, a California roll, not even stop at the stop sign by my house, at Finnegan and 49. Not even stop there. There's a certain hour, and then cars just go. And then there's the ones that like to hear how their engine sounds and go through town very fast because they can, and I'm not blaming the police because there's not enough of them to be there all the time when it's happening. But I just think if this is gonna slow them down, I'd be happy to see them. They're not the prettiest thing, but neither is gonna be that EV, Charger thing, and they don't fit in with the aesthetics of the city. But I say if they're gonna slow them down, I just wish maybe, Utica is where you have to hit the 25s. But then they figure as soon as they hit the frog painted on the highway, they can punch it. But it's 25 till you get out of town, and they don't do it. Just my opinion, but I live on it.
So to answer your question, the chief of police decided where the placement of these signs would be.
Okay.
All right, Ron.
Okay.
Are these like are these the things that they put down like on copper that says you're going 35 miles an hour? They're like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a confession to make. I speed at every one of those spots. Every one. But when you see the sign that says you're going 110 at Mach 20, I slow down, at least for a short period of time. It does work. And I would rather have these than have a camera. I'd be bankrupt. They would give me a ticket every time that I spent through there. So I think they're a very good idea because I do slow down. I will not tell you that I do it forever, okay? But every one of these is a nemesis for me, every one of these spots. So there it is.
Thank you, Ms. Broder.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm guessing they don't put you in charge of writing in Europe.
No, they don't. Al, no, my cousin and Aldi do that, yeah.
The sign, this one is for Utica.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is a city.
So I see the picture, is that like right in front of the park?
Yeah, it's right there somewhere on the.
So,
It's essentially
well,
right across
because,
from the
I'm
gas
sorry, but the
It's right
picture
across.
is kind of weird.
It's right across from the gas station there
It's an
somewhere.
old picture.
Okay, so it's a little more.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, the
at the
building's
beginning of
there.
it.
Right, that was next.
So there's the walkway down to the park from 49.
Yeah.
So this is before that, if you're coming into town, correct? I just want to know where it's.
Yes.
No, it's past the.
Past it.
It's
Past the staircase.
Okay.
Staircase is here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Is it
Okay,
really
right.
that high?
I don't know, we'll have to see what it is. Scott, the chief of police will put them in.
All right. Thank you. So any other discussion from
I did.
council?
Is there any movement? A little?
I'm excited for all this. I'm gonna say, I know that downtown, the crosswalk thing, people have been,
Oh, yeah.
did you get clipped? If I remember right, people got, I know, I'm just saying, they're,
In the crosswalk?
Yeah.
yes, so any way we can get people to slow down here, as we talked about safety earlier tonight with Tricia and slowing people down, if they come around that corner and they've slowed down, or Bobby Middleton at the end of town, when people coming up
This
from
is
Spence
amazing.
and just cruising through there, if we can slow them down and by the school, safety wise, I'm all for these, so there's my 2 cents.
The more the merrier.
We have a motion to,
Move on. That we make this, approve the maintenance agreement.
I'll second.
good motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none?
None.
Aye.
Sharado.
Hi.
Berlio.
Aye.
Beal.
Aye.
Our last item on the regular agenda is the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act. Pam.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff is recommending City Council to consider and adopt resolution number 25-24, which would authorize the City of Angels to elect the participation in the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, or as better well known, the Public Sector CUPCA. Should the resolution be adopted by City Council tonight, staff will forward a certified copy of the said resolution to the State of California State Controller's Office, the Local Government Program and Services Division, Local Government Policy Section. What it entails is that this is a program created in 1983, which allows local agencies to perform public project work up to $75,000 with its own workforce if the agency elects to follow the CUPCA standards as stipulated in the Policies and Procedures Manual for the California Uniform Cost Accounting Commission. The Act provides alternative bidding procedures when an agency performs public project work by contract. So one would be projects of $75,000 or less may be performed by force account, negotiated contract, or purchase order. For projects of $220,000 or less, this can be done to contract by informal bidding procedures as established in the Act. And projects of more than $220,000 would remain subject to the standard formal bidding procedures that you now see. Should the city elect to become subject to the Act, the city, along with all electing agencies, must implement and adhere to detailed notice and accounting systems stated in the CUPCA requirements. So cities and agencies electing to implement CUPCA realize the following benefits. One is to increase force account limit for public agencies. Two is the simplification bidding for projects that are $220,000 or less. Three is the reduced number of formal bids based on project size. And last but not the least, the expedited contracting for projects under $220,000.
And there's one more. It does enhance the ability of our local contractors, if they sign up with the state, to be put on a list and be used by the city. So I'm very familiar with this program. We used it at Reinhardt High School. It really expedites the process. It allows for more local control. And instead of waiting to go out to bid for a project that's under $75,000, you can look at the list of contractors who may be able to perform that work and either solicit quotes from them, or if there's any, and I just believe it'll be very helpful for your department, Chris.
So you're against it?
Yeah. I thank you for exploring that. I think it's well worth it. Any other comments from the council?
As long as our software system can handle it. And Michelle's, is that what made Michelle quit? I mean.
And so just to note, I think it was in there, on an annual basis, Michelle would have to go out and post notices to solicit for additional contractors. But again, they have to be registered with the state in order to do work because it's prevailing wage. But it's way cool. Any comments from the public? Nice here. Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Shemente.
Aye.
Sharada. Aye. Makata.
Aye.
Broglio. Feehil.
Aye.
We're moving on to item number 10, informational items.
There are,
None. There are none. Are there informational items? I didn't see. We're good?
we are good.
Okay. Item 11, administration report.
One thing that I would like to share is that our chief of police, Chief Ellis, had released a press statement regarding the loss of one of our youth in Brent Park.
Yep.
And I'm hoping, and the council, is hoping that this would clarify and dispel some of the rumors regarding the young man's passing away. And my heart and everybody's heart goes out to the family and to, of course, the community, because the loss of one is the loss of all.
Thank you. Thank you, and it is a very sad time. Moving on to item 12, council reports. Alvin?
I had Utica. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carolyn. We had, number A was consideration of adoption of the annual addendum for 2025 irrigation season. We raised the rates by 3% for above Murphy's, 5% below. So as the water users above and below the powerhouses. What else? We had an informational update on the fiscal year 25-26, but basically we're on budget point for what we've adopted in the 5-year study. We will have another meeting on that, I want to say first part of June. Can't remember what the invite was, but somewhere in there before, there was right before budget. Either way, we have another meeting to finalize budget. And the Angels Penstock drain repair effort. We had a major leak on the parking lot. It was from 1880, whatever.
A mystery valve.
A mystery valve. It sprung a leak. Mark Lowe came and helped. Angels Camp City helped. I think TUD, CCWD, Murphy's. So it was quite an effort from everybody. So on that item was, they got it fixed, and a pretty impressive fix, and by a lot of hands on deck. So I would like to thank everybody that was involved on that. And I think that was about it on the agenda.
And we had a non-scheduled outage due to PG&E.
Yes.
And so because of that, we moved our planned outage to that time frame. It still went beyond what we had planned, so we were not making money at the Angels Powerhouse for quite some time. But we went back online on April 25th, so it's been back online now.
We were going to look at
the only other thing I would add to your report is that May 1st ended the season for water rate, or the water year, and so they measure on May 1st, but we won't get to that. Did we make it?
I don't know.
we won't know for a couple weeks. They like to keep us hanging on that, so, but we're hoping for a water year one.
Yeah. Anything else, Alvin?
That's all I got.
No, you went to the dinner.
Oh, I did go to the dinner. That's right, I sat with Mr. Schmidt and his wonderful wife. Pam came in too. It was nice kickoff to the fair.
Yes.
The Spence family was recognized as the family of the year for the fair. And they do an amazing job between the cattle ranch and the farm supply and helping children out. They're a wonderful part of this community. So yes, that is true. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Isabel.
I don't have anything to report. I mean, I attended the dinner, but as far as any committees or anything, I have LAFCO coming up in a couple weeks, and so I'll have a report then.
Thank you. I attended the CPBA meeting on the 16th, and as we talked about, the rates next year will be 18 cents a kilowatt, which is, PG&E currently is about 40 cents a kilowatt, so all public agencies are benefiting from the construction of new Maloney's. We're in deep negotiations with PG&E right now, and it's probably going to end up at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission because what PG&E is doing now is that they do mid-year increases, and so what they're charging is kind of all over the map, and they say it's based on formulas, and so we are part of a group that, is hoping to negotiate something that isn't as erratic. Western Power Authority, WAPA, is where we get our power. They're subject to the same thing that PG&E is dealing with, that we're dealing with through PG&E, so what we're hoping is just kind of smooth the waters to go back to having established one rate for the entire season based on whatever formula that all the parties can agree to. So let's hope that works. And I also attended the mixer, and I thought it was a wonderful thing at the jeweler. I missed his presentation regarding the reality TV show that might be happening there. So, and thank you, Deb, for inviting us, Pam and I, to DAC. I truly appreciated that. And I did attend fair dinner, and that was very cool. That fair dinner was very cool. Excellent food, so thank you. I get to jump a frog this year too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, Amanda and
I don't know who else.
Supervisor 3. Martin.
Okay.
Yes, your turn.
So we had the Utica meeting, and I did attend the mixer at Paul James, and I was not able to attend the fair dinner. Unfortunately, I was traveling for work, but I think that's it. We have COG tomorrow, so we have the EV thing coming up. It'll be fun.
It's a hoop.
I have no report.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to correspondence. Oh, I have, moving on, council reports. I also just want to thank Chris for having the guys use the boom mower. If you haven't seen that thing in action, it's way cool. And thanks, Chris, for having those guys out there doing that. I appreciate I know that Dave and his crew, we hired a crew to trim the trees downtown, and I think that's very excellent job. But I really appreciate you guys trimming a tree by a pickle porch that says parking. Now people know where parking is, and we talked about it last meeting where people didn't know we had parking, off-street parking, and I appreciated that. And that's what I have. Thank you. I just wanted to show that. Moving on to correspondence now. We did? Yeah, no, correspondence.
So we have 3 correspondents, so we'll go ahead and go through. Hold on for just 1 minute, please.
These were letters that were written, and looking just for you folks to know, they were.
There were 3 letters that had been released. The first one had to do with was released to the California Advanced Services Fund and the California Public Utilities Commission on behalf of supporting Comcast's request for funds for the federal funding account. This would deploy and expand broadband infrastructure to approximately 2,400 unserved households across the region. And just to share that something that's not in this letter, the city is currently in talks with Comcast to basically talk about how are you going to do it for Angels Camp. And so we're opening that conversation, so that conversation will happen very, very soon. The other one, and then there's two other letters, and it was addressed to State Senator Mary Alvar Gill's office with the city nominating Habitat for Humanity and Sierra Hope for District 4 2025's Nonprofit of the Year nomination. We haven't heard back about what the results are, but we were privileged to put forward a nomination to recognize those two entities and their work. And that is it.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is the calendar. We have a calendar available from May through December. If there are any changes to the calendar, please let Rose know, or any additions that have to be made. And those calendars are up. Future agenda items.
I got one that we touched on a while back, but it's not super important, but I'm happy to close one up today.
Pictures.
Yeah, pictures. At one point we were looking at like the light poles downtown have the little flag stanchions on them. And we looked at a couple different designs and stuff, just something to, I mean, there's just, I'm really happy with downtown area. There's a lot of stuff going on. So if I can keep beautifying it and just doing some small things, but we looked at some flags 6 months ago.
Oh, no.
It was like a year ago.
Like a year ago.
Okay, if you could maybe dig those back up and look at those, and I mean,
There were some designs.
they had 4th of July designs, they had Christmas designs.
Christmas.
So if we could put some of those up to help do that, that's all I have at the moment. Veronica just reminded me of that.
I have a question if we have a marked vehicle policy in terms of the city vehicles. I know there was a point of contention with things not being marked, and I think there's a couple that also, so I just wanted to know if we have a policy, if we don't have a policy, if we can have that come forward. I don't need a bunch of discussion on it, I'm just an item for future.
There.
Well, I know we're not supposed to go into discussion about it, so that's what I'm saying. If we can just talk about that at some point in the future.
We will go ahead and do that. Staff actually have noted that one, especially with the fleet policy. So there are two areas that staff would be addressing that matter.
Perfect. Thank you.
Carolyn?
I'm just happy we're gonna get a Caltrans update. Nice
Yes,
stuff. That's
me too.
awesome.
Scott?
Nothing.
The one thing I would like next month, if you could get it scheduled, is included in your report. About 6 or 8 months ago, I met with Jessica Self, and she was looking at a feasibility grant to do a 2-mile connection from Forest Meadows down for a redundant water source. And I would like for you to meet with our water partners to kind of get an update of that status. It is something that we have thought about as one way to get a redundant water source. So if you could, and then report back to us on the status of that.
Well, there was also an initiative from Utica to do a tunnel tap.
Right, a tunnel tap.
To bypass
Right,
the
3/4 mile.
plumes, 3/4 mile,
Yeah.
and that kind of fell flat, and so that might be something worth bringing up at your Highway 4 water
Right,
meeting.
and then when you bring it back, we can talk about Chris and the well.
Because the thing with Union doesn't really serve our community, it only serves their community.
Well, I think for us, it would be, how do we get it from Murphy's to us? And what would that cost be? And are there grants available? No, you're correct, but at least we are trying to explore redundant water sources. No, I agree. I agree. So with that, does anyone in the audience have any future agenda items? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. This was a lengthy meeting.